Hey guys, it's Kat with Kat's Crazy Life. I'm living the crazy life so you don't have to. Once again, through all my many adventures, I find really unique topics to discuss and to learn about. And through my travels, I have met some really cool friends. So, once again, let's meet a new friend of mine. Hi, Louie.
Hey there. Hey, Kat.
How are you today?
Good. Yeah.
A little bit of a
Up late
time,
tonight.
right? I was going to say there's a little bit of a time difference. Where are you speaking from?
I'm speaking from England. So middle of England, East Midlands.
How interesting. There's a lot of history on that island. But the topic I would like to talk about is you are a Vedic astrologer. Is that?
Yeah. So my name's Louis and I practice astrology.
Mhm.
I've been uh, I've been practicing astrology for about been practicing Vedic astrology for about 4 years now and offering that as a service. I also provide resources for inner work here on YouTube. So I make quite a few videos on esoteric subjects, lots of subjects, mythology, numerology, religion, spirituality, and of course, astrology. So yeah, so I do those things.
And your level of research, I must say, I'm so impressed. Coming from an anthropological perspective and making sure that you cite sources, I really find your level of detail of where you get your information. I really appreciate the level of detail that you put in to the work that you do and the way you present it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and actually, I never used to be like that. I mean, in the beginning, I was quite sloppy, and I just sort of spoke my mind on a lot of things, and that can be very good because you can get into this spontaneous thing where you don't know where it's going, and that can be very creative and inventive. And I actually come from an arts background. I was educated in a visual art background. So I'm used to being creative like that, but it is not very good when you want to nail details, and that comes from a sort of different part of the brain, which is
Mhm.
more like a researchy type part of the brain. So I've had to really learn that. It's not come natural.
Well, you've done a really, because you cover a lot of people, I don't think realize that Vedic astrology is ridiculously fucking complex. I'm sorry, I do cuss.
No, it's
Um,
crazy.
but it's, and just trying to understand the layer, I practice what's called 13 sign true sidereal astrology, which includes the sign of Ophiuchus, which is next to Scorpio. And it has its roots in ancient Egypt. Whereas I believe the Vedic is built a lot similarly, that actually takes that a step further because it adds layers of the sky that traditional tropical or even sidereal astrologers may not, like the nakshatras, for example. Is that how you say that?
Nakshatras, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got a lot more constellations to work with. You've got 27 nakshatras.
On
So, I
top of the
mean,
planets.
on, yeah, so
Like,
on top of the 12 signs, you've got the 27 nakshatras, and the nakshatras are just the more detailed parts of the 12 constellations. So they're not sort of separate from
they
the 12
layer upon
constellations.
each.
They're just the specific stars within those signs.
Right. And it gives like the vibe and the energy of that piece of space. That's kind of what I'm understanding.
Yeah, it's just a much more psychological description. So,
Right.
for example, let's use an example. sign of Aries. So of course you've got the ram, you've got the image of the ram to work with, but it doesn't really evoke that much unless you get into the Greek constellation astrology. And there are stories, Greek stories that are related to each of the signs. But of course, if you don't have that background, you just have the conventions of the astrology to work with, like the element fire, the modality, and so on. But with the nakshatra, you get a lot more of a mythological and religious resource to work with. So each nakshatra is ruled by a particular deity, and that deity has his own stories. And then what that does is, by identifying, say I'm giving you a reading, and I can identify you with the deity and the story of the deity, it fleshes out your consciousness more. You know, you get that deeper kind of inspection into your mind. So yeah.
It almost gives it context, right? It says, yes, it's fire, and I'm just going to use this random weird, but it's fire in this piece of your life story. That's not a, it seems that it, like the 12 hurdles of
Yeah,
Hercules.
so with like with Aries, you've got three portions to Aries. So three nakshatras are within the sign of Aries, because Aries is quite a big part of the sky, and the nakshatras are smaller. They're 13 degrees each, so you can fit quite a few in. And the final portion of Aries, which extends also to the beginning of Taurus, is called Kritika Nakshatra, and that's presided over by the deity Agni, and he's the deity of fire. He's the god of fire. And so his story is about fire is allegorical because it talks about passion. So Agni, this story is about Agni's lust and Agni's passion for the Kritikas, who are the wives of the seven rishis. And so that whole story, if you look into the mythological account, it really paints a picture of like romance and desire. So like if I was to look at your chart or someone's chart, then you could see those kinds of situations and experiences in that person's mind and in that person's life. So it gives a situation, I guess.
Yeah, and what that's interesting that it's leading you into the sign of Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, which is all about it, you know, it's the earthly desires, if you
Pleasure, love, yeah.
Right. So that's, I really enjoy that it adds more relevance, I think. The more research I've been doing, and I just get obsessed and go down rabbit holes, and so that's why I really appreciate people who have done the research like you and put it in such detail, because coming from zero foundation, not even just a little bit, I'm more of I have done a lot more work in the Nordic aspect of myth and religion and
Oh, wow.
and esoteric. And what's interesting is through my Nordic research has taken me to the Vedics. And actually, and I'll share with you later, where they actually talk about they are the same story. And because the runes are like the mantras.
Okay.
And there's a connection, and that I don't want to get off topic because I'll just get fucking left with it and just get all crazy, because that's what, and I'll go really left with it. So I would definitely like to have a further discussion though.
Yeah.
Just to compare notes, because through all my Nordic research has actually landed me in Vedic land, if you will. And that's how I found you, actually. Um,
That's interesting. Yeah.
so and there was one yogi guy.
Yeah, I got, sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
No, I got into the whole Norse and Scandinavian religion and mythology stuff because I wanted to connect to I wanted to find something beyond Englishness or beyond like Britishness and
Right,
go
right. No,
further,
totally makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and go further into, hang on, what's the history here, and what's the real, like, what's the religious current, what's going on. And so that's what led me to looking at well, actually I went to a place where they had it was a Viking burial ground
The mound.
where they buried uh, Viking kings. So I went to this place, and they had all the grave mounds, and apparently in there they've got the remains, and then lots of they buried the kings with lots of
Oh,
jewelry
slaves
and
even.
gold and
Yeah.
lots of stuff. And obviously you can't see any of that, but it really it's really good to imagine that, and you can really feel stuff when you go there. It's quite deep and very, very nice and very beautiful and peaceful as well. And so it was around that time that I learned about the runes uh, and the symbols, and it just sort of grew from there because I was interested, and so I wanted to. So I learned about Odin, Thor, Freya, and I just started building from there, really. And you can see already, very lots of similarities to other Indo-European peoples. So the Indian peoples, the
Mhm.
Greek, they all have these similar characters.
And well, what led me to learning about it was through I have I mean, I'm American, obviously, but through DNA, um, I already knew that I had Germanic roots and Irish roots. So I started there to tap into, I had a spiritual awakening, if you will. It started, I would say in 2017. I didn't know what was happening, but a lot of the things and gifts that I've been given, I found come from my Germanic side, if you will.
Wow.
And that's just another story for another day, but that's why it's called Cat's Crazy Fucking Life, because I'm living
Yeah.
it. And because once you understand the level of animism that starts in this astrology and that we talk about, it's everywhere because everything's so connected. And,
Mm.
as within, so without type of a thing. But let's bring this back around to the topic of the day, because I'll just gab for hours about weird shit. And that's just what I like to do.
That's cool. That's cool.
I really appreciate how wide of a scope you that your research entails, because you do go from Vedic history to touch on the Greeks, plus you go into numerology. That's a whole world in itself, and I'm really interested in that as well, because I'm a tarot reader and I read tarot cards, and numerology has a lot to do. It's just all connected. So let's get back to the
Yeah.
Vedic astrology, and if you
Sure.
could just give us like a foundational of what it means and why is it different than traditional American, if you will, coming from an American perspective.
So the difference between Vedic sidereal astrology and tropical
Mhm.
astrology?
Yes. Thank you for
Okay.
wording it, because
All
I
right.
prefer.
Well, yeah. Well, I started actually with the tropical astrology, and it was I was enjoying it, and I found no problems with it. I mean, it was effective to me when I was practicing it. But then, yeah, it was that. At first, it was the detail that attracted me to Vedic astrology, because I felt like, at the time, I felt like it was more accurate, or I'd been led to believe that it was more accurate than tropical astrology. But I don't think that that's necessarily true, um, because it's really more about the skill of the astrologer and how accurate the astrologer is. Because I see other people who practice Vedic astrology and who have interests in Vedic astrology, and I've seen, what they say, what they write, their videos and so on, and a lot of them don't make any sense. So I'm sorry, but
No, honesty is the best policy in my book.
it's true. So then it's not the astrology system; it's the person who's interpreting.
That's well said, sir. Well said.
But you can also have a faulty system. You can also have a system that's that's a bit crude, that might not be so workable. So it is a combination of those two things. And yeah, how can I explain it? Well, obviously
So,
the nakshatra. Sorry, you were going to say something.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but it actually uses ancient text, right? Doesn't it start with the Vedas? Is that what they're called?
The Vedas, yeah.
Yeah. So is the astrology based? So that's one of the things that attracted me to it, was that it is an older system that's been around for a significant amount of time, unchanged. Is that correct? Am I understanding?
Yes. So the dates and the times, I'm a little bit fuzzy on, but it does go back to, I believe, around 1500 BC, 1000, around there. But
Long time ago.
a long time ago, the Vedic people, I would say they were practicing astronomy, not astrology. They were just looking at the sky and creating some kind of system from that in order to practice their rituals. So in order to do their fire ceremonies, and these were their sacrificial rituals to the various deities. So that's what they were using astrology for back then. It wasn't to look at birth charts or to understand their own psychology.
Right.
All of that came from Greece. So that and the Greeks came over to India and started merging that kind of birth chart stuff with this religious astronomy.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective that a lot of people wouldn't probably talk about, right? Because they want it's not as sexy.
Yeah. So the Vedic astrology that I practice is a hybrid. It's both of them.
Oh,
That's the
interesting.
truth.
Okay. So take us through what a typical chart would kind of look like, or how, I don't know how best to describe it, because Vedic is so specific that do you go?
I could possibly share do you want to look at my software?
Yes, please. Now I use a Prometheus software. What can you can you take control? I'm not sure how to.
Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, try to share it and I'll try. I'm still new to the video. Sorry guys, if in YouTube lands that I'm not sure how to. Let me know if you can.
Give me a sec.
Take your time. I'm super excited to be able to have this conversation, and and just kind of really shoot the shit about it, because it's something that a lot of people don't know about it. And it's really interesting when you start to research this kind of stuff. It's almost like you have to know what you're looking for to find it. And that's why I really appreciate your channels, because you just kind of started from foundations that I could relate to, such as the numerology and I think that myth is really important part of our history, because it stems from somewhere. And
Yeah, the number, understanding number is like you said, very important to all of these divinatory methods, these ways of trying to understand what's going on. So yeah, you need that understanding of number to really go deeply with this stuff. But I've I've I can share my screen now if you want,
yes,
but you need
yes.
to enable me to share it because it's
I'm, oh, is
disabled.
it? Okay, let's I don't know. Oh, here. Is that it? Post attendee Zoom? I don't know. How do I let you do it?
I think you might have to
Sorry,
click on
guys.
my name and then
Oh,
enable.
consent on second camera. Oh shit. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Okay. Click on your, oh, there you are. Yeah, yeah. Like you said, allow to make host. I'm gonna make you the host.
Yeah, make me the host. Yeah, yeah.
You take the wheel. There we
All
go.
right.
Can you change the gallery? Hi guys. Thank you. Oh wow. Yeah, see your shit's so different.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's all square.
Yeah, ours is circular and wheels and whatnots. And
I mean, this is the, I guess this is the biggest visual difference, is that you're working with a square. And at first it feels very weird if you're going from a circular chart. I mean, this software enables me to look at it as a circle as well. But
yeah, I was playing around with mine.
the way that I've been taught, I've been taught by Sam Jeppy, by the way, who is a fantastic astrologer. So I will mention that. And he has taught me to really think in terms of this square, because obviously these are the houses. So you've got the 12
Right.
houses that relates to the earth. And you can think of the earth as a cube, because you've got all of the four elements, well, you've got four elements within a square, but you can imagine that as a cube. So to think in terms of the cube and is to think in terms of the houses, it's to think in terms of the earthly external life. So this way is very useful like that.
Okay. Interesting.
And that's why there's a special emphasis on the ascendant sign in Vedic astrology and seeing things from that earthly perspective. First, grounding in that, and then I guess working up into the more subtle layers. So I guess that's a big difference with Vedic astrology, is that you have a lot of you have a lot of ground up detail. I don't know how else to
Well, what
explain
I
it at the
noticed
moment.
from the research and the people that I've been looking into is the first of all, astrology has a lot of math involved, and I don't mean as in how each house interplays and layers upon each other and interacts with each other. And that's one of the things that I noticed was kind of missing in, well, tropical is completely, I don't even like to talk about it because to me it's not. Anyway, that's how I feel about it.
You practice a form of sidereal astrology, is that right?
Right, the 13 signs in that are actually in the ecliptic, and I do use true sidereal, which is as is happening at, real time,
Yeah.
and the true size of, it's not cut in little pieces. But what I find interesting is that a lot of the house interplaying and how, like, if you are looking at it from a wheel perspective, like for example, you have Mars and Rahu in the same in Taurus right now. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. Here we are in Taurus, yeah.
Right. So how that changes where your ascendant is, right? That's what I'm noticing is that in Vedic, like you can take it from your moon. And if you're using a wheel, for example, like how I would be looking at it from the ascendant perspective, is it shows you how how fluid it really is and how everything interplays and interacts with each other. I just kind of, I think, confused.
See, I got the circle up here, so it shows the circle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like, for example, if you would take where your moon was and use that as where your ascendant would be.
Are you talking about birth chart moon or transit moon?
Birth chart moon.
Okay.
And like for example, I don't necessarily know my specific ascendant time. I have it really close, and actually yesterday I did verify that I am right in the range because I have Saturn in my ascendant. So like me and
Right.
Shawnee are friends, man. I had to make good friend, and my birthday is number 8. So
Wow.
yeah, that's why like the numerology really means a lot with the planetary. When you start realizing how creepy this shit really gets, and
Yeah.
and I have K2 in my first house.
Wow, K2 and Saturn in your first house.
Yeah, so it sucked. It's the first 40 years have sucked. Let me tell you. No, they haven't, because I've real and that's why I really like going back and listening to like things 6 months, like your new moon discussions, for example, and I'll come back and listen to them in 6 months, and it can kind of give me an example of, yeah, this is what I was going through at that time. I go back and listen to it as much as I look for it, because then it helps me organize my growth, because I'm growing at such speed right now. It's fucking
Wow, that's
ridiculous.
interesting. I never, you know what, I never go back into the
Oh,
transit.
really?
No, but maybe that's something to do with your K2 because K2 relates to the past and going back in time, right?
Yeah, and I'm always stuck in the freaking past, and I'm like learning how to let that shit go, and
Yeah, yeah, that's K2 stuff, yeah. And
yeah,
Saturn.
and
Yeah.
and my so Aries moon, and then I have Rahu in Sagittarius in the seventh house. I think, yeah, seventh house.
Yeah.
So like with the Aries moon and Sagittarius with Rahu, like I'm just like on fire, right? I am like Speedy Gonzalez, not knowing where you're going, just going. And thanks to Shawnee, I've learned to get my shit together.
Yeah. Yeah, Saturn will organize you, won't he?
The great teacher, and but so what do you happen to have a chart available and we could maybe,
Yeah. Yeah, we can look at a chart.
just for
Let me think.
funsies, so people can
Yeah.
be like, what the hell are you guys talking about, and what does this look like, and how does this apply to me, and just kind of go through what each of your little areas kind of, if you have time. I don't want to keep you up too late because I know you have a life too. And
Yeah, it's fine. Let me hang on a sec. Let
sure.
me find something.
Can you see my horses in the background? I'm on a horse ranch, and
I love horses. They're so great.
they are, yeah, and they're
Yeah,
in the middle of California. So
I thought it was people walking on a sidewalk or something, but now I see that it's horses. Yeah.
it's horses. I love it.
Okay, give me a moment.
They snore. I sleep with the horses, and they snore, which is actually really pretty fucking adorable. It wakes me up. It's so loud, but it's so stinking cute. Like, I can't even be mad because I'm like, oh my god, there's this giant animal who sleeps outside where my little trailer is. Because one of the horses, Pride, she likes to sleep outside my window, and it's so stinky. She's a little gray one. You can actually see her right now. That's her. And they're cleaning up her shit. Oh, and that one right there, the white one, that's Duke. He's chilling. They're cute. They're my homies. That's who I hang out with.
I love stroking horses. They evoke such a peace in me whenever I encounter them.
Yeah, in ancient Germanic, they're extremely spiritual and they're extremely revered. And
Who's the
Odin.
horse? Yeah, who's the horse goddess? Is it the Celtic horse goddess Rhiannon or Rhiannon?
Oh yeah,
Is
see, I'm
that
not
right?
sure on my Celtic, but I know Odin has an eight-legged horse. And the funny
Yeah,
thing is Loki is the mother of a horse of because Loki, who's typically a guy, shapeshifted into a horse to lure this other horse so the giant
yeah,
would lose. And
yeah.
then
That's when they're building the wall of Asgard, right?
yeah, and so Loki actually gets knocked up while he's shapeshifted as a horse,
It's
and so he
crazy.
delivers this horse, and it's like, and then, anyway, I love the craziness of it because it just explains chaos and order, and how each of them require a place in our existence.
Of
You
course.
have to have death. To have birth, you must have death. And
Yes.
but anyway, take it
Inexplicable.
away, sir, with your charts.
Um, okay, so I'll share my screen. Uh, this is just a chart of my sister. So we can use that if you want to. She's a Taurus ascendant.
That's me.
Oh,
So
you're Taurus as well.
Taurus ascendant, yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, well, perfect. There we go. And she's got Ketu in the first house.
No shit. That's crazy.
Yeah. How about that for a
No,
coincidence? I didn't even plan that, actually. I forgot that she had Ketu in the first.
that's crazy. Mm-hmm. Shit's creepy, man.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and she's very distant, very aloof, very hard to read, and sometimes there's a kind of she's lovely, but there's sometimes a kind of coldness and like there's a lot of quietness or like solitude, or it's that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I have a lot of the solitude thing, and it kind of trips people out because I require a lot. And
Yeah.
I could go weeks and not give a shit. The only people who see me are at the weed dispensary and at the taco shop, like
Yeah.
that's it. So I get that. But I'm an Aquarius in the sun, so I am I'm more mental. I mean, I'm gushy and emotional, but not in a very, I don't know. I don't get
But
touchy-feely. I'm not a
but then
oh.
there's the but then there's the other side to that, right? The Rahu in the seventh. Like my sister, she went through so many relationships, and it was like one after the other, kind of just like almost like this obsession with people.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. But I've been
Yeah,
single for a very long time now, and it's been part of my spiritual awakening.
yeah,
It was required. It was weird. Anyway, but back to
yeah.
your sister's chart.
Yeah, no, I just need to mention that because obviously the nodes of the moon, you almost can't, well, you can't speak about one node and not speak about the other. So it's that weird kind of just flips back between, it can flip back between them, can't it?
Yeah. And that, one of the Vedic
Until you reconcile them and see that they are just one process.
right, and that it's a matter of balance, and to let and to go. And I noticed that age has a lot to do with it. I'm about to turn 48, and I have to tell you, I can see, from what I understand, like for example, druids, you couldn't even start the schooling until you were in your 40s, because you had to be tempered with true knowledge of life. And then it was another 20-year schooling. So that's why, when people are like, how long have you been into this? And I'm like, oh, I got a minimum of 20 years. So I am just a baby of a baby. I didn't even know what a house was this time last year. I'm not even kidding. I just started this portion of my journey last April. And now I'm a tarot reader, and
That's
I
great.
only so far use the chart to tap into the personal energy, but I have noticed, and this is going to get really weird, so pardon the viewers, for those of you that have sensitive, um, we're going to talk about some topics right now that are kind of creepy, but I've noticed that people who have Pluto in their ninth house, um, had some sort of trauma with their father, and I mean, it's creepy how many every time. And so now, when I see that, one of the first things I start asking about is, or if Pluto's in the fourth house, the mother, um
Yeah,
there's creepy sexual abuse specifically is so far every fucking time. I mean, it's wild. And
so
then
you get a lot of charts where that pops up.
lately, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
just in the past, well, I mean, I've only been doing this for a year, but it's been significant enough that I'm like, this is a thing, and I don't even need to talk, and now
yeah,
it's
you've seen the
really,
pattern enough.
yeah, that, and then there's suicide too, if Pluto, um I noticed a Pluto in a number one spot in the first house, and that was an intense person, you know what I mean? Just dealing, because as we're dealing with these people, we're looking up under their skirt, for example, right? You're
Yeah,
looking at their life story.
not literally.
Yeah, right, but I mean, we're getting a personal look about these people's lives, and I think we should take into account that this is really personal, and
Yeah,
you should
definitely.
honor, I always have a disclaimer that whatever we talk about, I'm not going to say any names or go into details, but um it's kind of like being a spiritual advisor in a sense, because you're opening your energy to them, they're opening their energy to you, and it
Yeah,
can get left real fucking fast.
yeah.
Have
No,
you had anything like
it's not. I mean, it. Some people might think that astrology and being an astrologer is a glamorous
oh
type
no,
thing, but
no, it's
when it
exhausting and stressful.
when it comes down to it, it's like, oh, you've got that other person's all of their dark secrets, all of their difficulties, and you know, if you don't have that detachment, it can get you down a bit, you know.
Well, because people aren't coming to you because things are great, right? They're they're in a stressful situation and they just need
Yeah,
some kind of, you know, whether, you know, whether you take it seriously or not, it doesn't matter. And
they're
I
coming to you because you've got Saturn going through the first house.
literally, yeah, yeah, because that shit's real. That's and an Aries moon. So I'm like slamming my face into a brick wall my entire life and just doing it for fun. And like, wow, does this ever end? Does this ever fucking end? You know, but
Yeah.
it does in your 40s. So it's,
But Pluto, I don't work with the outer planets so much
oh,
because they don't really do that in Vedic astrology. I mean, I can add them if I want to, but I just haven't had the time. But Pluto, is that the Roman version of Greek Hades?
yes, yes.
Okay, so that's the underworld. That's the god of the underworld then.
Right, right. Now I use 7 planets plus a couple stars. And but like I said, I don't usually I just use it to get a vibe, tap into their energy. And
For
as of,
when you're doing a tarot.
right, right, because I try to when I started doing it, I tried to do it more of the astrologer side, but everything kept pushing me towards the message. It's like, this is some, you know, get to the nitty gritty, lady. You know, we're here to talk, so let's talk. But I really appreciate your availability, because I know it is literally tomorrow. So it's March 5th right now for you, right?
um yeah, yes, technically yes.
How cool, we're time traveling. That's pretty fucking rad.
Yeah,
So
time's broken down.
yes, because it's definitely not linear. I do want to let all of my viewers know that I'm gonna have Louis' information in the description box below, because he actually has an amazing a couple YouTube channels actually. You want to go into that a little bit before we wrap things up? And
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, so I have my yeah, I'll send you the links. I mean,
yes,
I have a dedicated Vedic astrology channel, which actually started as a Facebook page where I wrote articles on the transits.
okay,
Um, and I shifted, I still do that, but I've shifted also to YouTube version of that. So at first it was just videos of the transits, like new moon, full moon, that sort of stuff. But now I've started creating more original content for it. But all my time was taken up with the other channel, which is, so I got another channel which is Polarity Dancer. It's
I
a bit of a
love that
strange
one.
name.
I love it.
Um,
No, it makes sense though. Once you've been down the esoteric road a little bit, it makes absolute sense, because
yeah,
that's what we're doing. We're energy vibrating between polarity, and the whole point is to
yeah,
vibrate high enough to where you just stand still, but you're not standing still. You're vibrating so high it looks like you are. Does that
yes.
make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Totally. It's an esoteric thing that
Yes.
you have to feel. Um, but yeah, so on that channel, obviously I've got my mythology of the planets playlist. I've got
Mhm.
a numerology playlist. Um, but lately I've been trying to branch out into, like, I don't come from a literature background. I have not studied mythology as a degree or anything. But what I'm seeming to understand is that a lot of what we call religion is described in mythology or trapped in mythology. So these characters that are in mythology are gods. So we can understand what the like we don't really, there's not really that much information out there about the Vikings religion, and so they recorded, that was recorded in poems that they wrote on shields and stuff, and then you had people who took those poems and created books. So so it's all extrapolated from these runes that were written on weapons and stuff. So this is how we understand what the, you know, what the European religion actually was. So what I'm trying to do is use these stories to recreate that and try to actually practice it, try to use it as a living energy again, you know.
Right. Yes,
This
raising
is
the
what's
dead.
important. I'm not some kind of academic who just, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I am living with our ancestors and their energy, and I'm trying to put the pieces together of what our heritage is, and whether it's considered religion, esoteric, whatever. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, clearly pre-Christianity, things were really different. And the level of knowledge and individual knowledge of the universe and the world around you was much greater. And a lot of people, you know, and that's why I think I'm obsessed with Egypt, because they're understanding. I work in the medical field, and a lot of the surgeries we do today is exactly the same. There's some like glaucoma surgery, for example, removing the lens of is no different than the Greeks and the Egyptians did. The lens is a little different, but mastectomies were done in ancient Egypt and in Greece and in, you know, these people had running water, these people, you know, but now I'm moving into like Romania and areas like Portugal, where a lot of there's some history that hasn't really been talked about a lot. So that's where my research is right now.
Mm.
And but I don't want to keep you for too much longer. I would like to collaborate some more on another day, absolutely, on some other subjects, because we're just tipping a little, just tipping the iceberg of the information that's clearly in plain sight. You know, it's hidden in plain sight. Is
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, yeah, this is that. I mean, there's so much. It's just it can just go on forever. So
it
yeah,
can, it really can.
if you want to talk about something much more specific and focused another time, then that's cool. That's cool.
No, but I really appreciate your flexibility and being able to basically taking it all around the dance floor and then bringing it back to but I know it's probably about 1:30 in the morning where you're at, and I just don't want, you know, you, I don't know about you, but you probably have work. And
Time for bedtime.
yeah, so once again, I want everyone to thank you so much for stopping by Kat's Crazy Life. And as you can tell by my really cool friends, Louis, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us
All right.
today. And I just, oh, thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge and what you bring to YouTube, because the information's there. We have to give a shit and go look for it. So once again, I thank everybody for stopping by Kat's Crazy Life, because, you know, I'm living the crazy life, so you don't have to. And once again, my friend Louis, and I will have all of his information in the box below. And I really want to thank everybody for giving a shit and stopping by my channel. And thank you so much. Over and out.